Welcome along to another Motorhome Mad podcast. I'm Keith Gooden, and our expert... Hang on, where is he? I tell you where he is. He's in his motorhome on holiday. It's holiday season, and he's left me behind to look after the ducks. Yeah, don't ask. But I tell you what, Matt's not gone completely. In this episode, he's talking to someone whose opinion you really need to hear. But first of all, let's hear from the man himself, our expert, Motorhome Matt Sims himself.
I'm not in the studio with Keith this week, but instead recording this from our motorhome whilst in Suffolk. I had a great time last weekend at the Norfolk show with the guys from that leisure shop. And thank you to everyone that came and said hi or made a purchase from the shop. The team will be at the Malvern show in August. I'm away with the kids at Centre Parks then. But they will be there with a wide range of luxury furniture from Crespo, some really lovely bits and bobs from Beaucamp, plus some great deals on Seago kayaks and paddleboards once again. But you may have heard or seen on social media that I had a nasty fall during the setup of the Norfolk show, and I managed to break a rib. Yep, it really hurt. I want to say a huge thanks, though, to the medical team at the showground, and a special thanks to the Warners team that organised the event. Their care and attention was superb. Plus, of course, a massive thanks to Darren and Jude, who continued to set up the shop without me and basically ran the thing with me moaning and groaning in the corner. Thank you, guys. But as I have said since in a recent online post, the show must go on, and so must our holiday, or I'm going to get it in the ear from Jude. So we are here in Suffolk, in the motorhome. We've made it. In fact, I'm recording this from a lovely campsite called Wantiston Park. It's really well run and maintained. It's dog friendly and very clean. You will need levelling ramps though if you're going to turn up in a campervan or motorhome, as the touring pitches are on quite a slope. It's set in stunning countryside with beautiful surroundings. Wildlife and fascinating history is everywhere. In fact, we've seen deer every day. It's stunning. The TV series, The Detectorists, was filmed in this local area. It was a series that we really enjoyed. In fact, the lunch tree is in the next field. You'll know what that is if you watched it. To this week's episode, I saw an article published online yesterday by my friend and recent guest of the podcast, Paul Kirby, aka the Electric Van Man. Paul reported for the first time since records began, he thinks, the electric van market has gone backwards year on year as of June 2023. Paul goes on to say that electric van sales have dipped this year by a massive 11.7% compared to the same period in 2022. Well, I thought, gosh, that's not good news for the evolution of the electric van and thus the realisation of the electric coach-built motorhome. In fact, will it ever happen? Well, I was recently visited at home by the lovely Tash and Jon from Life Beyond Bricks. Jon and I are running a live session together on the transition from diesel to electric motorhomes at the upcoming Southwest Motorhome show at Shepton Mallet in September. We will be discussing the future and the challenges of electric motorhomes, and you can get an insight to our thoughts from a chat we had together in my garden. So Jon, you've been listening to these latest few episodes we've done on the transition to EV, but what do you think the future actually holds for you and me as motorhome owners?
I think it will all go electric eventually. We're not quite at that stage right now.
Well, it will go electric. We know that. 2035, everything new has to be electric. But that's law.
Well, the EU have gone back on that already.
You think that would change in the UK?
I'm not sure. I hope it doesn't myself. We're moving on a transition I'm really enthusiastic about. I think it's a brilliant idea. It is the biggest change, I think, since we went from horses to motorised travel.
Yeah.
It is literally that big. We've got to pretty much change everything for this to work. It needs to be a real systematic change. It is change for the good, because we've been burning fossil fuels, diesel and petrol, for over 100 years. It's clear now that that is not the way to go. And the possibilities with battery storage and EVs, the possibility of that is endless. You used to use a car or a vehicle as your mode of transport, or in a motorhome. Obviously, it's your holiday vehicle, but now you will be actually, in the future, we will be using these vehicles multi-purpose. We'll be using them, I think, as battery storage. We'll be actually assisting the grid. That is the idea. We can assist the grid for the peaks and troughs that there are going to be. So you can actually then start taking power from your vehicle and actually feed the grid. And I think this is probably another real good way of doing things as well.
And that's a big learning curve. We've never done that before, have we?
It is a huge learning curve. We are literally learning, I think, as we go. But we have some of the most clever engineers, some of the most clever minds on this. And I'm really positive that I think it's going to work.
But you're a bit of a petrol head. You're a petrol and diesel mechanic. That's how you cut your teeth, isn't it? But how do you feel about electric? Would you go electric? Would you buy an electric motorhome?
Definitely. I would definitely go electric tomorrow if I could. If there was an electric motorhome available, the same as mine, the same space and stuff like that, I would literally go for it tomorrow.
Well, you've got a massive motorhome. You've got an A-Class, which is like a coach. It's an Adria Sonic. You've got you, Tash, and the 3 kids in it, the cats. Well, you'd need a big old motorhome. That's just not practical yet, is it?
We are quite a way away from that, I think. I'm running at 4 tonnes, so that is going to be difficult to do with the battery technology we have at the moment. But I must admit, I have been watching this for quite some time, and I cannot believe how fast the battery technology is moving. So I don't think it's going to be too far down the line that we got an extremely light, energy dense battery that you could put in quite a small space, and it would work. You would get half decent range.
So you think the 2035 deadline is going to be pushed into the future, but you say battery technology is evolving really fast. I think it's going to be 10 years before we see viable electric motorhomes, especially like yours, big ones that want to travel 300 or 400 miles and weigh 4 tonnes with all your kit and caboodle in. Bear in mind, you live in yours full time. Do you think it'll be 10 years before we get there?
I really hope not. I'm hoping it's going to happen before that. An option for me, one of the options I have considered and I've looked into as well, is possibly actually retaining my vehicle that I have now and actually converting that to an EV. So there are EV kits out for combustion cars now. I think there's been a Fiat 500 kit for when the Fiat 500 engines go pop. There's been a Fiat 500 kit for quite some time, which you can effectively DIY kit, just take the engine out, take all the fuel system out and put battery and motors in, and it literally just bolts straight in and you have yourself an electric Fiat 500.
Well, you do that to your motorhome?
Yeah, definitely.
I know you're thinking of changing it, and we've joked about what you'd buy next, but you'd consider keeping it and making it a milk float?
Definitely. Maybe not a milk float. I'd hope it would be a bit more sophisticated than that. But personally, if it is going to be 10 years before I can get something like we have now, I would rather just do it myself, because I don't particularly want to wait that long, to be honest. I say that the technology is moving on at an astounding rate.
When do you take the plunge then? So your motorhome's what, 7 years old, is it now?
Yes, It's 2016. Yeah.
And you've had it from new, haven't you?
We've had it, I think it was 2 years old when we bought it.
Okay. So you've had it 5 years, and that's a fair time for ownership and a fair time to change it, but you would consider making it electric rather than buy another diesel motorhome and wait till the electric's evolved?
Definitely. I think the environmental issue is that big that I wouldn't particularly want to replace my motorhome right now with another combustion engine vehicle. I would prefer to do something for the future and actually convert mine now. Obviously, if something happened right now to the van, if I was involved in an accident or something like that and the van was written off, I would have no choice but to buy another similar motorhome, like another Adria Sonic or something like that, which obviously I would have a diesel engine then, and then again I would still look to probably convert that as well.
But how viable is it putting an electric motor in your motorhome now?
It would be difficult, and there's a lot of challenges. I don't think we've got the energy density and the batteries there yet. Not It's not what's commercially available for you to do it yourself. There's a lot of cars that are, they're concept cars. They're not actually concept cars. They are literally going to be out by the end of this year. They have extremely energy dense batteries, but they're not available to me, so I wouldn't be able to use those yet. I'd have to go with existing technology, which is a little bit older, so again I would be limited on space and weight for my motorhome.
Would you just take the engine out, put a motor in and use the existing drivetrain, or would you put 4 motors in and drive each wheel? How would you do it?
The technology's moving on so fast, and we do have really good in-wheel motors now. There are companies out there that will have off-the-shelf in-wheel motors, and they are ready to go. They will basically work out how to fit these in-wheel motors rather than having a transmission or driveline or differential or motor. You can actually get the motors out to the wheels, which means you're actually saving all of that space in the engine bay, so you could effectively use the space in the engine bay for more batteries. You would have to set them a fair way back, because if there's impact intrusion, you want to have the batteries as far back and as far inboard to the vehicle as possible. Same as you would with a fuel tank. You don't have the fuel tank on the outside of the van. You have the fuel tank quite far in, so that if there's any intrusion, that you're not going to split the fuel tank, and the same with the battery. The intrusion's hopefully not going to get to the battery.
And do you reckon you could get this insured?
That is a big question. That's probably a question for some insurers. I really don't know. The laws of converting them are quite lax because nobody really does it. Obviously I'd have to speak to an insurance company. I can't see how an electric vehicle would be any more dangerous than a combustion vehicle.
No, probably not. But we'll ask Caravan Guard. I know listen to this podcast regularly, so guys, if you are listening, we would love your thoughts on this. Could you insure an internal combustion engine motorhome that's been converted to electric? Would you insure it? I mean, that would be an interesting question. This needs some thought, doesn't it?
Yeah, I bet that would be a real difficult one for them to answer, but I'm really interested to know. I can't see why you couldn't. I'm really interested to hear what Caravan Guard would say about this, to be honest.
What timescale do you think you're on to be able to do this?
I would hope it's going to be within the next sort of 3 years. That's what I would hope, and as we move along this journey, then different things are going to be available to me, so more energy dense batteries and things like this. So I would hope for it to be, like I say, we've battered this figure with electric motorhomes, like coach built motorhomes, large motorhomes, of 10 years. I really don't want to wait that long.
And do you think then that the powertrain option is going to be available to you sooner than a coach built motorhome that is all electric, i.e. you make your own?
Unfortunately, I think it is at the moment. I think that the legacy automakers are dragging their heels with the large van sector, and they have been for a while. And I understand why. I know, because we haven't had the energy density for them to be usable. The vans that they've been making haven't appealed to, they're only really useful for final mile delivery for all these delivery companies. They literally work for one thing, and most companies don't want to buy a vehicle that can only do one thing, unless they're constrained by London congestion charges and stuff like that, which I think is primarily where these vans have been used. Unfortunately, have really dragged their heels, and I feel we're quite far behind where we could be if they started to develop and investigate this earlier.
Yeah.
Don't like to drop manufacturers in, but I don't think if Tesla had created what Tesla have created, these vehicles, I don't think we would be adopting passenger cars as fast as we are now.
Do you know what's interesting? Someone said to me today, in fact it was Paul who was in a previous episode, he was driving his EV around trying to get charged. He makes all our orange bags. And he said to me, Matt, love the episode, it was great to be in it. He said, do you know what? It was 2008 the first Tesla came into production. It was 2012 that we saw the Model X in mass production in the UK. That's only just over 10 years ago. And look how Teslas have evolved. 10 years is a long time. And I've been quoted as saying, this is 10 years away. I'm with you. I think it could be sooner. I'm kind of still erring on the I'm not sure. 10 years, yes, it's a long time, but a lot has to change. Do you think you would rename your YouTube channel Life Beyond Diesel from Life Beyond Bricks?
That's a funny one. Yeah, I'm not sure.
This could be a whole new world for you, Jon.
I'd love to name it that. That would be quite something.
This could be a new living, a new career, converting diesel motorhomes into electric powertrains.
Well, there's very, very few companies actually doing it. I know of only 3 companies, I think, that are converting what we would understand as a motorhome. We already have campervans. We already have some really good campervans in the pop-top guys from the small van sector. We've got the ID Buzz now, which, okay, is a little bit small for my liking.
A little bit small. It's tiny.
It is, yeah.
The Nissan MV200 is the way forward, isn't it, if you want a campervan at the moment. But, yeah, the options are really limited, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting you mentioned the Nissan ENV200, should we say. That is something that we actually considered. We've just actually swapped our transporter. We've got a pop-top Danbury transporter, Danbury Surf. We have just swapped it for a little micro camper because we didn't quite need the large van with the big engine, so we've gone down to a little small micro camper. And I would have loved to have had the option to go electric on this, but there was just nothing out there. There was literally, I think I saw one ENV200 that was converted with a pop top, and I think it was like 35k. It was fairly old. It was one of the early ENV200s, and I just didn't have the budget for that. I just couldn't do that. So again, the option is to eventually convert that as well to electric, and that would be an awful lot easier to do than my coach-built motorhome, because it's just a smaller, lighter van, so I wouldn't have to go huge on the batteries. Again, I would probably have to go motor in wheel rather than bother with differentials and transmissions and things like that, because there's not really anywhere else to put the batteries. You'd have to have them in the engine bay. It is an option that I would have loved to look at, but we just didn't have the budget for it at the time.
There are lots of challenges, aren't there, around this transition to net zero and to EV. It's coming, it's going to happen. There may be alternatives as well, but cost is one of them, certainly. And actually, we will be talking about this in some detail, won't we, in a live session at the Shepton Mallet Motorhome Show, Southwest Motorhome and Campervan Show. And we've been planning a session together, Jon and I, at that show. So if you're coming in September, we would love to see you there, to join with us in the debate, where we probably won't have many answers, but we will have lots of questions. So, Jon, thanks for coming down and visiting me at home. We're sat here in our garden with our lovely view. It is lovely, isn't it?
It is absolutely stunning.
Look at the sun is setting over there to our left, and your motorhome's there to the left in the sunset. The cats are on the dashboard. I don't know where Tash is, but it's been great to see you both and have you here with us for a few days, and just take some time just to, well, have a chat, have a beer together, and plan this session for September, which we're looking forward to. What's going to be the highlight for you of the show, do you think?
The show in general, we always enjoy going to the shows. We always like to look at what's there, always something different there. And we are seeing more electric pop-top vans available as well. I see more every single show we go to. We have more of those, which is really good to see, because it's a big transition that's coming that we need to get on top of. Yeah.
It's happening. Let's make sure that we're leading the fight for our corner as we transition to electric. We're the kind of nightmare, aren't we, for electric vans? We want to go long way with a lot of weight on board. Let's see what happens over the next 5 to 10 years. And we look forward to discussing with you at the Shepton Mallet Show. We'll see you there. So there you are. I wasn't expecting Jon to say he would convert his existing motorhome to electric. That was a shock. In fact, is this something that you are considering? If so, I'd love to hear from you. Jon and I will be continuing this theme at the Shepton Show, and I'd love for you to come and join us and get involved in the discussion. We're on stage in the Advice Centre at 2:30 on Saturday the 9th of September. Do join us if you can. But if you can't make it and would like to contribute to the discussion, you can do that too. In fact, if you have any question or comment for me, you can leave it at www.motorhomematt.co.uk/Ask Matt. just hit the orange button, tell us where you are, record your little question or contribution, or fill in the form and you can submit your question that way. If you need tickets for any of the upcoming Warner shows, you can get them at outandaboutlive.co.uk. Just follow the link for tickets, but make sure you enter the code MotorhomeMatt for a discount on the ticket price. That's one word, MotorhomeMatt, and save a few pounds on the entry price. Also, please make sure that you follow the Motorhome Matt podcast on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok or LinkedIn. We have a giveaway coming this week for a free weekend pitch at the Shepton show with free tickets included to the Saturday night entertainment too. Thank you, Warners. Right, that's all from me. I'm off to explore Sutton Hoo and Constable Country in a motorhome.
Thanks for listening to the Motorhome Matt podcast. Remember to check back here for more episodes full of hints and tips and helpful advice. We'll see you soon for another Motorhome Matt podcast brought to you with thatleisureShop.com.